All right, now I don't have any cool lighting. I don't have any, setup or anything like that. This is my first video where I actually do something like this. So if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that like button and red subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow me on all social medias at BladeMiss, as well as if you want me to do any stat in particular to crunch up and do the numbers of and then compare it, just make sure you leave down in the comment section what stat you want me to do. So what I decided to do was I decided to look at the Houston Astros, but more in specific, I looked at the 2017 postseason stats for every single MLB team. I compared their strikeout ratio per at-bat away as well as at home, and then basically I added it all up for all the teams, and then I did it by team. So let's take a look at it together and see whether or not this can prove that the Astros were doing something at home, or maybe it can prove that they weren't doing anything at all. So we're going to start off with the Houston Astros against the Boston Red Sox. That division series, the Houston Astros away played 2 games. They struck out 17 times in 77 at-bats. Strikeout ratio per at-bat was at 22%. At home, 13 strikeouts in 70 at-bats, 19%. Boston Red Sox, 2 games away, of course, 17 strikeouts and 66 at-bats, 26%. Home, 16 strikeouts and 71 at-bats, 23%. The Yankees, on the other hand, they faced the Cleveland Indians. Away, they played 3 games. In those 3 games, they had 42 strikeouts and 112 at-bats for a 38% strikeout per at-bat ratio. At home, 22 strikeouts and 62 at-bats for a 35% ratio. Now, the Indians, on the other hand, away, they played 2 games, obviously. 25 strikeouts and 61 at-bats, 41% ratio. At home, 36 strikeouts and 103 at-bats, 35% ratio. Now we go to the Houston Astros against the New York Yankees. Or actually, before we jump into that, let's go to the National League and let's knock out the division series there as well. So the Dodgers, which are my team, just in case anybody's wondering, they played 1 game away, 2 games at home. Away, they had 6 strikeouts and 32 at-bats for a 19% strikeout ratio. At home, 21 strikeouts and 72 at-bats for a 29% strikeout ratio. The Diamondbacks, which is the team they faced, away they had 17 strikeouts and 66 at-bats for a 26% strikeout ratio. And then they had 11 strikeouts and 29 at-bats at home for a 38% strikeout ratio. The Cubs, on the other hand, facing the Nationals, they played 3 games away. 30 strikeouts and 97 at-bats, bringing it to a 31% strikeout ratio, and then 22 strikeouts and 53 at-bats at home, bringing it to a 42% strikeout ratio. The Nationals, on the other hand, 16 strikeouts and 64 at-bats away brought it to a 25% strikeout ratio. At home, 25 strikeouts and 97 at-bats brought it to a 26% strikeout ratio. So if you're wondering what the differentials are currently between home and away, the Astros in the division series, it was a 3% differential between home and away, them striking out more away. The Boston Red Sox struck out 3% more away as well. The Yankees struck out 3% more away as well. And then the Indians struck out 6% more away as well. The Dodgers, on the other hand, they struck out 10% more at home. Granted, they did play 1 more game at home, which isn't really that big of a difference. And then the Diamondbacks, they struck out 12% more at home. The Cubs, same thing, 11% more at home. And then the Nationals, 1% more at home. So it seems like the American League, they were striking out more away. And then the National League, they were striking out more on their own turf, which, may seem a little odd to me or to you as well. Now let's go to the championship series. The Astros, they went ahead and faced the New York Yankees. So they played 3 games away, 4 games at home. Away, they had 25 strikeouts and 92 at-bats, bringing it a 27% strikeout per at-bat ratio. And then at home, they struck out 20 times and 112 at-bats, bringing it to a 16% strikeout ratio. Now, the Yankees, on the other hand, away, they struck out 48 times and 126 at-bats, bringing it to a 38% strikeout ratio. And then at home, they struck out 22 times and 93 at-bats, bringing it to a 24% strikeout ratio. Now, the Dodgers versus Cubs, they played 3 games away. The Dodgers, 29 strikeouts and 107 at-bats was a 27% strikeout ratio. 12 strikeouts and 56 at-bats at home. it was a 21% strikeout ratio. The Cubs, on the other hand, 21 strikeouts and 60 at-bats, was a 35% strikeout ratio away. And then at home, 32 strikeouts and 94 at-bats was a 34% strikeout ratio. Now, if you're wondering what the differentials here are, the Astros, once again, away, they struck out 11% more. The Yankees struck out 12% more away. On the other hand, the Dodgers, they struck out 6% more away, and then the Cubs struck out 1% more away. So now all the teams, they were struggling more away than they were at home. Now let's go to the World Series where the Astros took on my Dodgers. There we have the Astros playing 4 games away, and then the Dodgers playing 3 games away, or 3 games at home. Or you guys get what I'm saying. The Astros played 4 away and then 3 at home. Dodgers played 4 at home, 3 away. So we start off with the Astros. Away, they struck out 38 times in 139 at-bats, bringing them to a 27% strikeout ratio. At home, they struck out 16 times in 105 at-bats, bringing them to a 15% ratio. The Dodgers, 28 strikeouts in 105 at-bats, bringing them a 27% strikeout ratio. And then at home, 37 strikeouts in 124 at-bats, bringing them a 30% strikeout ratio. The differentials were the Astros struck out a 12% more away, and then the Dodgers struck out 3% more at home. So, if you're wondering what was the average K per at-bat differential for all teams when it came to home and away combined, it was a 7% differential. So if we look back at the numbers in the first round for the division series in the American League, everybody was underneath it. For the National League, everybody except for the Nationals was above it. And then when you look at the championship series in the American League, they were both above it. In the National League, both below it. And then when it came to the World Series, the Astros were well above it, and the Dodgers were well below it. Now, when we look at all teams and we look at their K percentage away and K percentage at home, you'll find it very surprising. So the K percentage for all teams away was 29%, and the K percentage for all teams at home was 28%. So you're going to want to you're going to want to keep that information in the back of your head. So now let's look at the Houston Astros. They played a total of 18 games. So the more games you played, the more strikeouts you would assume that you would get or the more times you would strike out because the more at-bats you would get. Surprisingly, the Astros, they played 9 games away and had a 25% strikeout per at-bat ratio as opposed to the average of 29%. And then at home, they had a 17% strikeout ratio as opposed to the 28% average, and they played 9 games at home, 9 games away. So that is an 8% differential. That was pretty alarming, if you would want to say. And then the Dodgers, on the other hand, they had a 24% strikeout ratio away, which was 5% below the average, and then a 27% strikeout ratio at home, which was 1% below the average. They played a total of 15 games, 7 away, 8 at home. The New York Yankees played 12 games. They played 7 away, had a strikeout ratio of 38%. That was well above the average by 9%. And then at home, a 30% strikeout ratio above the average by 2%. So clearly the Yankees were the team that they went up there and they were looking to strike out, basically. The Chicago Cubs, on the other hand, they played 10 games. Away, they had a 33% strikeout ratio that was basically 4 above the average in 5 games. And then at home, a 38% strikeout ratio, which was 10 above the average. And then the Nationals, on the other hand, they were probably the best disciplined team out of all of them, because away, they had a 25% strikeout ratio in 2 games, 4 below the average. And then at home, 26%, which was 2 below the average. The Cleveland Indians, 5 games, 2 away, 41%, which was like 12 above the average away, and then 35% at home, which was 7 above the average. So they played 3 games at home, 2 away. You know, you look at the Yankees and then you look at the Cleveland Indians, and you can say to yourself, those teams were the major strikeout teams, because honestly, there isn't any other team that struck out like them. And then looking at the Boston Red Sox and the Arizona Diamondbacks to finish it off. The Boston Red Sox were pretty well disciplined, just like the Washington Nationals. They were both below the averages, as the Boston Red Sox away in 2 games had a 26% ratio, which was 3% under the average, and then at home a 23% ratio, which was 5% under the average. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks had a 26% ratio away in 2 games, which was 3 points underneath the average, and then a 38% ratio at home, which was 10 points above the average. So if we look at every single team and we look at their percentages away and at home, you will see that surprisingly, no team is underneath 23%. And the only team at 23% exactly is the Boston Red Sox at home, but they only played 2 games. The closest team to anywhere near 23% playing above, let's say, 10 games is the Dodgers away at 24%, and then follows Houston Astros at 25%. So, those numbers are believable. They strike out 25% of the time away. That's believable, 100%. Now, when you look at the numbers at home, the lowest number is a 17%. 17% in 9 games by the Houston Astros. In 9 games away, they strike out 25% of the time. So having that home field advantage clearly was working out in their favor if they struck out 8% less. And then let's look at the second lowest amount. The second lowest amount was 23% by the Boston Red Sox, but they only played 2 games. If we look after the Boston Red Sox, the next lowest amount was going to be the Washington Nationals at 26%. They only played 3 games as well. But any team that played over 3 games, the lowest was the Dodgers at 27%, which is still 10% higher than the Houston Astros. So if you look at the differentials of the Houston Astros, they had a 12% differential home and away, favoring away in terms of striking out more in the World Series, and 11% differential home and away, favoring away in terms of striking out more in the championship series. And then in the division series, it was what I would say was the most normal differential they had, or strikeouts per at bat they had, as they had a 19 and a 22%. But even looking at that 19%, that number right there is an outlier within itself, because in the division series, let alone in any of these series, if that's even a word, because I ignore that, but in any of these, 19% in the division series was the low all around. The lowest out of all of them was 15%. And you would expect, as teams play more games, you're playing more and more difficult opponents, because it's the postseason after all. You're facing the New York Yankees, and you're playing 4 games now at home. You would expect the strikeout ratio to increase, because their away strikeout ratio, it increased up to 27% and then stayed at 27% in the championship series and World Series. But when you look at their home strikeout ratio, it decreased from 19% to 16% to 15%. And let's just take a look at 19%. The closest team to them is the Chicago Cubs, I believe, at 21%, and they only played 2 games at home against the Dodgers. So, 21% looks to be average, it looks to be normal, but then you play 3 games at home and then 4 games at home, and you telling me your percentage is 16% and 15%? That's a little bit of an outlier, or at least I would say so. Now, you could say, hey, you're just a salty Dodgers fan because, you guys didn't win the ring. And that might be true, but I crunched up the numbers. If you guys want me to do any more numbers, just make sure you guys leave it down in the comment section below, and I'll do like slugging percentage if you guys want me to do slugging percentage, or batting average, whatever you guys want me to do. Just leave it down in the comment section below, and I will go ahead and make a separate video where I will go ahead, basically gather all the information, and then give you guys the percentages and compare it to all the teams, as well as to how they performed away and at home. If you want to see that, make sure you comment it down below. Make sure you hit that like button, red subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on all social medias if you haven't already at Blademas. And as always, have a blessed day and night. Stay positive, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.